Today on DC News Now, clouds covering the region this afternoon. Could we see rain? Meteorologist Damon Madsen is tracking the skies.
Well, the polls are open and many voters are casting their ballot in the Democratic primaries. I'll tell you what many voters have to say.
Also, fighting continues to intensify between Israel and Iran. We're following the developments in the conflict. Then a local woman is helping expecting mothers with childbirth.
Folks that choose to have their babies outside of a hospital are looked at as strange.
Learn how in today's DMV Doers. The summer is coming and the heat could mean higher energy bills. We're stretching your dollar and showing you ways to save.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Mark Hall. Flood watches are popping up across the DMV today. Meteorologist Damon Madsen joined us with the latest check on the forecast. Damon, are the concerns for later this afternoon and early evening?
Mostly, Mark. Yeah, we are already starting to see some things pop up out there. And just given the fact that we haven't been able to catch an extended break from this wet, stormy pattern, that's why we continue to see these flood watches and continue to have these flooding concerns. We could use about a day or two of dry weather, and that would alleviate these flood issues. But that's just not what we're going to get. Check it out. Most of the area covered under a flood watch. Most of us go until 10 p.m. with this flood watch, mainly west of the district. But once you do hit the D.C. metro area, surrounding counties, up I-270, even into Frederick County, Maryland, the flood watch goes just a little bit longer until midnight. At this point, generally speaking, we're just going to have to be on the lookout for heavy rain and a possibility of flooding through the end of the day today and through at least the middle of the night tonight. Now, believe it or not, our one saving grace that could help to try to limit some of these pockets of heavier rainfall and storms, these clouds that are keeping it rather calm out there, especially across the eastern half of the DMV. But what is not going to help is if that sun breaks out like it's starting to do west of the I-81 corridor. Any bit of sun that breaks out is going to be fuel for developing some heavier rainfall and storms like we are already seeing back across the eastern panhandle. And if more of this activity gets fired up and drifts east, there you go. That's where we end up with our flooding concerns. So as we head into the afternoon, evening, that's when more rain and storms are to be expected. Now, how much rain could some parts of the area pick up, and will this stormy pattern continue on Wednesday? We'll have a full look at your forecast coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you very much. And Virginians are hitting the polls today. A big turnout is expected. More than 200,000 people voted early ahead of two key Democratic primary races. DC News Now, John Marie Sase caught up with voters in Fairfax.
Yeah, well, the polls are open and voters are showing up. We spoke to several voters casting their ballot in the Democratic primaries for lieutenant governor and attorney general, and they say they're making their voices heard.
I have family members who couldn't vote. So for me to not vote, I feel like it's a slap in their face.
Michelle Wenzel says voting is personal. She's thinking about the next generation, too.
My grandkids are the first thing because I want to make sure there's still a democracy here for them.
And there are a lot of options on the ballot. For Lieutenant Governor, former Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney, Prince William County School Board Chair Babu Latif, State Senator Aaron Rouse, former federal prosecutor and Georgetown University law professor Victor Salgado, State Senator Ghazala Hashmi, and Alexander Bastani. And for Attorney General, it's a two-person race between former Delegate Jay Jones and Henrico Commonwealth's Attorney Shannon Taylor. Voters we spoke to say candidates need to speak up.
I want them to tell me what they're for. I want them to say, you know, I'm really concerned about the direction of schools. I want them to say, I want to make sure we protect our public services for people. I want them to say, I want to look at the roads and the construction that's happening.
And not every voter was registered with the party, but they still showed up.
I am vehemently against sanctuary cities. I believe Attorney General or politician should enforce the law that's not being enforced in many parts of our nation, to include both blue and red states.
Well, the polls close at 7 p.m. Be sure to bring your ID. And for a full list of those polling locations, you can visit our website, DCNewsNow.com. So stick with us. We'll have full coverage on this election. Reporting in Fairfax, I'm Yal Marissa Say, DC News Now.
Yal Marie, thank you. Meantime, an Arlington County board member sharing on social media two recent threats she received Maureen Coffey, the youngest elected board member in Arlington history, says that threats of violence against lawmakers are not isolated to national politics, and solving this problem requires a massive change in how people talk about, joke about, and debate politics.
If you feel like it's somehow acceptable to threaten a member of Congress, how is it that different to send a message to one of your local elected officials or your state lawmakers? If we treat what happened in Minnesota as a one-off, I think we're going to be missing a bigger problem within our country right now.
A recent report shows threats against Congress rose for a third straight year, and threats toward local officials spiked last November as elections were held across the country. And developing now, President Trump posted on Truth Social that all 9 million people who live in Iran's capital city need to evacuate now. This post coming as Iran and Israel continue to trade strikes. Around 200 Iranians have been killed, along with about 20 Israelis from these attacks. This all starting when Israel struck Iran and attacked Friday. Israel says the attack was to stop the country from establishing a nuclear bomb. The president also firmly coming out against Iran having any nuclear capabilities, and he says that these strikes may not have happened if Iran made a deal when it had a chance.
I like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
Well, the president left the G7 summit early last night to help deal with the situation. He also joined other world leaders there to call for de-escalation in the conflict, including a ceasefire in Gaza. Well, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine also working to prevent American involvement in the conflict between Israel and Iran. He says that he's worried the U.S. could be pulled into a war at any moment. Kaine is calling for there to be a congressional debate and vote before any American soldiers are sent to Iran. He says that, quote, the American people have no interest in sending service members to fight another forever war in the Middle East. The senator's plan would not prevent the U.S. from defending itself from an attack. And the district cleanup continues after this weekend's military parade and festival. Monday, crews were seen really taking down barriers and reopening roadways. Mayor Bowser says the work is expected to take several days. She also says there's no road damage to report, which was a concern heading into the event, but that her team is still evaluating.
We are following all of the movements from getting to the parade route to staging. If we have to make any repairs related to it, we would submit as part of the reimbursement process that we do for national special security events.
Well, if any repairs are need to be made, the district will submit a reimbursement to the federal government. Well, the city is temporarily shortening hours for the D.C. streetcar service along the 8th Street corridor from now through June 28th. The service will end at 10 p.m. daily. The district says that this will allow overnight Pepco construction to begin earlier. Now, regular operating hours will return once the construction project is complete. A Metro alert for Thursday, which is Juneteenth. WMATA says that there are some important changes to look out for. Metro Rail will be on a Saturday schedule, but you'll pay a normal weekday fare. Stations will open at 5 a.m. and close at midnight, and there will be free parking at all Metro garages and parking lots. Metro buses will be on a Saturday supplemental schedule, and you'll have more bus service than a typical weekend, and you'll be paying a regular fare. Well, Northern Virginia, the Fairfax County Connector bus will operate on a holiday schedule. And in Maryland, Montgomery County Ride and Bus Orange Route is running on a weekend holiday schedule, and the Blue Route will not be in service. Well, police got a jaw-dropping surprise at a Fairfax County motel when a guest got a little snappy. We're talking about an alligator, a real one, seen waddling down the hall overnight. DC News Now's Dave Duvall has more on how this cold-blooded reptile became a hot topic in Northern Virginia.
People thought our story was a crock until we showed them the video of what happened at this motel. They didn't shed any tears, or should I say, crocodile tears.
Oh, Lord, he's just sitting there.
Sean Hairston gets his first look at what stayed at the Travelers Motel, a 6-foot alligator.
Lord Jesus, that's crazy.
Fairfax County Police got the call about the unusual guest just after midnight Monday.
that are missing an alligator.
That's exactly what officers found when they arrived.
Yeah, there is actually an alligator outside of the hotel.
That's crazy.
Madison Kelmel has seen quite a few things growing up in the area, but nothing like this.
I don't expect to see alligators in motels, especially around this area.
Police determined the gator was on its way to a North Carolina zoo from New York when its owner decided to get a room for the night.
You said its mouth is bound up?
Yes, ma'am. It's like taped up.
The gator took a late night stroll and possibly looked for a snack. Police, though, took no chances.
I would bring your dog inside. There's an alligator over here.
A motel manager said he did not know about the gator. The owner did not respond to our request as to who allowed the animal to stay there. Meanwhile, Hairston found something positive about the ordeal.
Hey, at least they had something here protecting my car.
The gator violated Virginia state code since it's illegal to possess certain exotic animals not native to the Commonwealth. Police escorted the alligator and its owner out of the county. In other words, later, gator. In Huntington, Virginia, Dave Laval, DC News Now.